Good. How are you?
I'm good. I've had a very busy day, but we're almost there. Just kidding. I'll be working till like 11.
Love that.
Yeah, no, it's been good. It's just been lots of computer work. Oh man, like technology is not my thing. I think I actually am like a boomer on the inside and I can't fucking figure out technology. It kills me like nothing
You have a
else.
VA?
No, but I actually will be looking at getting like an in-person assistant this year.
Mm.
Someone full
Yeah.
time. Um, yeah, we're gonna have to look at actually outsourcing quite a bit this year. Um, we're definitely gonna be looking at full-time assistant and also someone to support international clients out of, well, obviously when I need to sleep. So we'll be looking at getting a like a support consult for international clients, because yeah, that's just picking up speed so rapidly that yeah, I'm preempting and I want to get on top of it quicker so it doesn't become a problem. But I'm preempting, like, I can't forever work 16 hours a day, um,
Mm.
because it is two, essentially like 2 hours. We have national hours and then we have international hours. And so yeah, we'll have to figure out essentially someone that can support between like the hours of 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. when I'm
Mm.
ideally asleep. But
Mm.
we'll figure that out probably in like, we'll probably look at doing that June, July, depending how quick things continue to move. Um, and then yeah, definitely look at doing that. But an assistant is 100% on the cards. But I do
Mm.
want to look at someone that I can work with in person. I think like online business can already be isolating enough. I don't want to work with someone else online. I want
Yeah.
someone that I can like go to a cafe with and sit with and work with. So yeah, we'll look at doing that. I'm not even sure when, once I get through this quarter and then come out the other side of that and reassess, analyze, innovate, all the fun stuff.
Cool.
Yeah, it's fun. How's everyone else? Good. I love when everyone's just like, yeah, good.
Getting
So,
by this week.
what's that?
Just getting by this week.
Oh my God. Was it this week or last week you got locked out of your apartment?
Last week. And it's just like the chaos is following me recently. My mum and dad's this week. I've had like a couple meltdowns. Bless them. I think you just regress when you're at home. You can just fall apart.
Oh my God, literally.
Um,
When I FaceTime my mum, I'm like five again. It's so funny.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've been like a baby with mum and dad this week. I'm like, oh, I'm struggling.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think it's one of those seasons as well, particularly like you're moving through like into new levels of business at the moment too, and like entering
Mm.
new kind of areas and new territories. And that in itself is already like a stretch. And the thing
Yeah.
is whenever we stretch in business, we don't realize we're also stretching the nervous system every time we do that. And so
Yeah.
the stretch in business, yeah, it's uncomfortable, it's lots of work, but also it does have implications on our body and our nervous system. So yeah, does stretch you, does increase your capacities long term. But I don't know anyone, myself included, who hasn't gone through a stretch and had a childlike tantrum.
Yeah.
Like,
It's not just me.
nah, nah, absolutely not. You can ask Michael. Oh my God, I've had some meltdowns. For the most part, I'm very calm, very neutral, but definitely had some meltdowns. Not so much recently, definitely in the last couple of years though. So I
Yeah.
feel you.
Okay, good.
Yeah, no, it is one of those things like you will stretch, but then you do like expand into a new emotional capacity where
Mm.
you can handle more. It's the same with things like responsibility in business. Like, say, for example, working with a staff member is an initial stretch, right? But then you kind of expand into that capacity and managing someone else as well as yourself. And then when your team starts to expand, the same thing happens. Or if you open multiple businesses, we kind of like go through these stretch, expand, kind of acclimate stages where we just acclimatize to the stretch to the point where that's just the new neutral point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Just got to keep on stretching, but don't stretch until you snap.
Yes. Yeah.
Stretchy. Yeah.
Letting it slow down this week. So
yeah, perfect. Is there anything anyone wants to go through specifically before we get into today's topic? No, shout out if you do. No, cool. All right. Let me get this up. So we're going to go through some offer suite stuff today, particularly marketing as well around our offers. So I did this with the girls yesterday on the other Ascend call. I've done this with a couple of my one-on-one clients. But essentially, and this is like say very relevant for you, Britt, also you as well, a little bit, Shay, anyone who has what we call a broad niche, right? Now, a lot of people do have a broad niche where it's not just like, okay, cool, I'm a fitness coach and I do fitness coaching, right? Say, for example, you, Britt, when we were, say, looking at the like holistic therapist, that profile we were looking at the other day, broad niche where it's like, what the fuck's a holistic therapist? It's a very niched title, it's a very niched thing, but it's so broad in what it covers, right? So it can get lost in translation of what that person actually does. It can also get lost in translation in the simplest of services or offers as well. So what we're going to go through today, and this is an outline that I use for my services too, is pick a service to focus on today. One of your services that you want to gain a little bit more clarity around, particularly when it comes to the marketing. Maybe it's not performing as well as you would like it to. Pick a single service. What tier is it in terms of your funnel? Is it top tier, mid tier, or high level? What's the pricing, minimum term? I'm going to give you guys like 5 minutes. I want you to write down all of the service inclusions as you would sell it, right? So if you were going to put it in marketing, how would you write down the service inclusions? Do you guys have any questions before you kick off? No, cool. Any questions, jump in. But otherwise, just pop a thumbs up in the chat once you've got yours. And then once we've got a few, we'll start to break it down a little bit. But I'll give you about 5 minutes. I'll give you guys another couple of minutes. Cool. George is done. You back, Lottie?
Yeah, the last 3 weeks, the Wi-Fi here has been so rubbish. Like on this call, I think last week I dropped out 3 times, so I'm gonna go chat with them in a minute.
Yeah.
Frustrating.
That's so funny. Cool. All right, we'll start wrapping it up. Georgia, I'd love to start with you. If you can talk me through the service, what tier it is, your pricing, and then the service inclusions, that would be great.
So it's just like my mid ticket, which is my one-to-one coaching.
Mhm.
4 month minimum term, which is 199 per month. And then personalized workout plan, personalized nutritional guidance. I do a lot of education, so like weekly lessons. They have access to every single lesson I've ever done before, which is a lot. One-to-one support, 4 to 6 week coaching calls. They gain access to the community and they also get their own personalized goal breakdown, which we'll use and reference to every single week off the back of check-ins to make sure that we're on track.
Yeah, cool. How often do you revisit the goals?
Every single week
Yeah.
off the back of their check-ins. So they have like,
Do you ever revise them though?
yeah. So
Yeah.
in their 4 to 6 week coaching calls, we will go over where they are in terms of like, are they on track to achieving their goals? Do we need to change them? Say, for example, I've had long-term clients where they're like, the goal just doesn't align with me anymore. Cool, what we're going to achieve instead, type thing.
Yep. Awesome. Cool. So it sounds like you've got lots of structures, which is good. It is easier to obviously have structures when you're working with like a single service like fitness, but it's really clear to see what people take away from your service, right? They know that they get a call, they know they get a program, nutrition guidance, they get resources, calls, etc. So that's really, really good. That's great.
Thank
Cool.
you.
I might go to you, Chloe.
Yeah. So I've actually been, this is perfect timing for me. I think I mentioned to you over Voxer that between the free masterclass and the challenge I've done has given me like a brainstorm idea for like a low ticket offer, which is kind of what a lot of people ask for. But I think I kind of thought it was something that would be down the line when I fill one-to-one spaces. So I'm just kind of hashing out what that looks like. So it'll be like a membership that'll be part of one-to-one services anyway, but in terms of those who just want that low ticket, it's the like the low part, what do you call that part of the funnel, top part of the funnel,
Yeah, top funnel.
top of funnel. So it's just $50 a week with the 3 month minimum term, and it's just the 6 week individualized exercise program rather than all of the bells and whistles of the one-to-one. But then they'll have access to like a school community with additional resources. So it'll be school community and resource library. It'll be once a month, we'll have an educational group call, similar to what I've been doing in the challenge. And then at every 4 week out of their 6 week training block, we'll have a one-to-one check-in call to update their training block. And then we'll just have one-to-one access via Messenger on Mondays to Fridays.
So I'll just call that Voxer.
Yeah.
Cool. And then they have what, a monthly, 6 monthly call?
So it'll be every 1.5 months I'll have an individual call. And then every month it'll be a group call.
A group call. Cool. Awesome. Yeah. So when we're looking at this, we've got 6 week program, exercise library, once off call, Voxer, and then a 6 week one-on-one. Now, what we can do to increase buy-in on this is expand on it a little bit. Now, what we don't want to do is like, you get a 6 week individualized transformative program, and it's like, all right, like chill out. I know I get a program, but what we can do is, let's say, for example, with like the once per month group call, right? I can't even spell. Once per month group call. What are they? What are you going to do in them?
So it'll be like an educational group call. So it'll be a call on like a certain topic and then an opportunity for any like support needed within the group.
Yeah, cool. What are you going to call them?
Educational group call.
Could call it like a like group training, rather than like educational is a word that like most people don't really click with.
Yeah, I like training actually.
Yeah, it's like a training, you know, like you figure out another word for it, but expanding on that a little bit more. So looking at, are you going to follow a module? That's good. I like that. Are you going to follow a curriculum for it, like a specific thing?
Not necessarily. So my thoughts was that I'd keep it similar. So in the challenge, it's been like a module kind of thing, but it'll just be on like select health and fitness topics.
How are you going to decide what ones?
I think it'll be kind of, I've got obviously those 6 initially that are quite relevant, and then it'll kind of be, I guess, what people are moving through, what's kind of relevant at the time.
Yeah, cool. So this is how long does this go for?
I want this to be like an ongoing subscription. So it's kind of people can join at any time and jump in, but then it's an option to then upgrade to the one-to-one.
Yeah, cool. That makes sense. So when it comes to Evergreen, right, it's very difficult to have like an actual curriculum because you are going to have people coming in and out. Someone might come in halfway through the curriculum, or people are repeating the curriculum and then it doesn't work. So when you have an Evergreen, it is good to have a structure to it. So like, you know, we start with hot seat coaching. Nope, cool. Let's get into, you know, group training this week. Sometimes we just do hot seat coaching. With Evergreen, you can be a bit more flexible and adaptive with it. What I would suggest doing, and this is something we're going to be bringing into Ascend. So we're really amping everything up in the next 4 weeks is kind of going to be stupid. We're also changing what platform we're going to communicate on, which is it's a really cool platform. I'm excited to roll it out to you guys. One thing you can do on this platform is like question boxes, polls, etc. So we're actually going to start polling weekly topics, right? So there's a bit more direction and intention in terms of the people who are receiving it. So there can still be those types of structures that you bring in with Evergreen containers. If you are, say, doing like this is just 6 weeks, right? It's a 6-week intake and then people are out after that. Then you really want to have like a proper curriculum, a proper structure to it, a proper intention with it. But definitely with Evergreen, you can be a bit more flexible. Just ensure you still have those structures in there, because that's what will make the service feel whole and complete. Without the structures, it'll fall apart a little bit. Oh my God, Voxer is like such a fucking nightmare. Like it was either Voxer or WhatsApp, and I hate the green on WhatsApp. That's actually why I picked Voxer, because I could not, like, WhatsApp is so ugly to me. But we found it's definitely it's a higher level communication platform. It's called Azura. Or Azula, I can't remember how to pronounce it. And it's definitely on the higher end investment per month, but it's customizable to your branding. You guys will see it when you land on it. I'll show you a little screenshot. It's got Lisa Vanderpump in it. I sent it to Mads. If you guys don't know who Lisa Vanderpump is, I'll educate you one day. But it's very femmy. Looks very femmy, right? The black, the white, very cute. That's a GIF, by the way. But it also transcribes your voice messages, right? Sometimes it's very difficult to listen to client voice messages when you're out and about or not in an area that supports you actually listening to them. It transcribes it. There's actually a lot of AI through it as well. It gives you things like chat summary. So if you've been out of a group chat for a little bit, it'll give you an AI summary of what you missed, which is pretty fucking cool. So that'll be rolling out in probably next week. We're going to look at rolling that out, which is really exciting. But yeah, I digress. It's a really cool platform, but what it does mean is that we'll be able to have things like intentional question boxes, or you guys can put in question boxes, polls. You can upload files to it as well. It's a really cool platform, and again, it's just another structure. Particularly when you're in an evergreen container, the more structures that you can have in it, the better. So overall, Chloe, I think great. Just refine the structure a little bit so it's got a bit more direction to it. But overall, the bones of it are really, really good. And then with things like your 6-week one-on-one, call it something so that they know the intention of that call as well.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you.
Awesome. I might go to, let me scroll up in the chat. Shay.
Hello. So I've just gone blank. My brain's fried today.
That's fine.
So the service is the mentoring that I just launched not long ago. So the Divine Evolution mentoring, it's, I want to say around that mid-ish, because it depends how long they sign on for, I guess. Though the pricing, do you want me to name all the pricings? Because there's a lot.
So is it like different pricing for a different sign-up period?
Yeah, so we made the tier 1 with the monthly call. So that's got a 12-week, 6-month, and a 12-month price. And then you've got the tier 2 with fortnightly calls, minimum 12 weeks, 6 months, 12 months as well.
Yeah.
So
cool.
they're all different and if like sign on for more months, you get that little bit of that discount.
What's the 12-week price of each of them?
So the 12-week price for tier 1 with monthly calls is $121 per week or $1,444 paid in full. And then tier 2 with fortnightly calls is $158 per week or $1,888 paid in full. So yeah, with that, the minimum term's 12 weeks. And then the service inclusions, so you get the monthly or fortnightly Zoom calls. Then you also get Telegram support, and the days available are dependent on the tier as well. And then first access to new offers.
Cool. So if we're paying what, 150-ish a week, let's say, cool. And we're looking at more of like a mid kind of moderate price range.
Yeah.
If we advertise it, right, we can have all the emotional buy-in, which is like the key outcomes. This is how you're going to feel. This is what you're going to gain. But if they look at service inclusions and they see a monthly Zoom call and Telegram support, they're probably going, nah, that's all right.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it, right? So service inclusions and what's actually in there as well can dictate how much a client will perceive the value to be of the service. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to add in, all these different dashboards and check-ins and crazy shit, right? What it does mean, though, is you can outline the specifics of what's included in those calls a little bit more, right? So let's say, for example, what would you do with people in those calls?
So this one would be just more dependent on what they're going through in that time. And then I've also got, with all the NLP stuff that I've done, the hypnosis stuff, we'd be either running through some of those techniques depending on what we've talked about during that week or what's kind of been going on.
Yeah. So you're also a broad niche.
Yeah.
Right? And you'll notice this, you'll know if you're a broad niche because you'll say a lot, it depends on the client.
Yeah.
Right? Which is fine. Like, it's okay to be a broad niche. It's just about how do we communicate it so that people can identify with it and want to do it. Yeah. So I'll actually send you a couple of the posts I sent Britt yesterday that were really helpful in terms of how to actually like hone in on a broad niche and make it really clear what you do, right? Because you know what you do, similar to Britt. Britt knows what she does. It's in the communication of it, though, that will dictate whether people believe they need it or not.
Yeah.
So, obviously, it's going to be dependent on the client. But what are some of the tools that you have in your toolkit?
So obviously one's hypnosis. Then I do as well. See, this is my thing now because I offer the breakthrough program, which is when I did the NLP course, they gave me like, okay, do this on week 1, do this on week 2, do this on week 3 kind of thing. So it's like I'm kind of finding it a bit difficult what to differentiate. Can I still offer all those things in the mentoring as well?
Mm-hmm.
So, because like I'm also qualified in emotional change technique, which is similar to timeline therapy. However, it's run a bit differently. So, getting down to the root cause of stuff with that, I can run emotional change technique, which I could include in this. However, that I felt like was more specific to the breakthrough program.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm also like, I could run it with this.
What are the key differences between breakthrough and this mentorship?
So, the breakthrough program is specifically what they've written out for me, which I'm kind of in a limbo at the moment because I'm like, I don't really know if I want to continue doing everything they've set for me because
it
they've
seems
set it up.
restrictive in terms of
Yeah.
it's like now you're basing a business model around what's been set out for you,
Yeah.
like a course or a, you know, a certification. So
Yeah.
that can be limiting. And it doesn't mean that you can't utilize some of the things in there, but you can also, you know, make them your own, right?
Yeah.
And look at, you know, making your own breakthrough program as well.
Yeah.
That can look a little bit different because what you'll find is, and again, like let's say for example, some of the techniques I use with you guys, obviously I use with my one-on-one clients, right? The proximity is different. The intensity of the service is very, very different. A lot of the tangibles are different. I still use a lot of the same skill sets though, right? So when we're looking at your mentoring versus the breakthrough program, you're still using a lot of the skill sets.
Yeah.
Right? What we actually want to put in here are those skill sets, what you actually have access to in your toolkit. Otherwise, people are just seeing a Zoom call, Telegram support.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
it doesn't mean you're going to be running it at the same proximity, the same intensity as the breakthrough program, but it also doesn't mean that you can't use those skills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Well, I guess then I could include in this the emotional change technique.
Mm-hmm. What else would you do?
Goal setting. I feel like those are like my main strong things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Expand on it a little bit more when you get the time, right? But by going into the service a little bit more and narrowing down on some of the skills that we offer and some of the things that we can offer, it's going to be a lot more appealing to people versus you're going to come in, you're going to feel all these things through a Zoom call and Telegram support.
Yeah.
Right? Instead, you're going to come in, you're going to feel all these things, get these outcomes, you're going to gain all this through hypnosis, emotional change technique, goal setting, you know, strategies, all these types of things, right?
Yeah.
People can understand the service a little bit more and what they're likely going to experience in it. And obviously that's going to be dependent on the client, but it's going to be a lot easier to sell because there's that insight into it a little bit more. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. That'll help a lot when it comes to the marketing.
Okay, great.
Cool.
Thank you.
That's all right. Britt, I might go to you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I put in the chat box, share what ECT is too, because I feel like people would know what that is and like how they could benefit from that too, which you might already have a post about that or something, but as you're marketing it, share like what hypnosis is, how that helps someone, what is ECT, how that helps, especially like things that like someone knows what goal setting is, but the things that are a bit more niche.
Yeah, I literally was thinking that as she was writing it, like, oh, I probably should write out what the fuck that is, because a lot of people will be like, what is that?
The thing is, though, as well, is like we had the same thing with Brianna, who's a yoga teacher, right? And Brianna did an edit, and in her edit, we were saying, you know, you talk about yoga, but then you talk about all these other things, and it seems a bit left field. And she goes, no, that's a part of yoga. And I was like, oh, that's the problem. Is I, as a standard human, see yoga as stretchy, flowy, cool, like, you know, Lululemon. That's what I see yoga as, right? But to her, she's like, no, there's 8 pillars of yoga. There's all these other parts of yoga, and it goes into this. And I said, well, that's what you want to speak on then, right? Actually educate people on those things, because something as simple as yoga, I didn't really know what that actually was, right? So educate people on those things and just assume your audience knows absolutely nothing. Yeah, awesome. Cool, Britt. What did you pick?
I picked my main one-on-one service because obviously things are changing again, but just sort of hashing out what it looks like properly. But now thinking about it, I probably should have done what Chloe had, because obviously we've been talking about the membership too, but I think the one-on-ones are good. What do you reckon? Should we work through the one-on-one or the group thing?
Let's go through the one-on-one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, service name, we've got Soul Synergy, and it's top tier / mid tier because we've got 2 different levels to it. Pricing, what did I send you? I said
5K over 3 months.
2.5, yeah, over 3 months, and then I think 1.5 over 3 months for the second tier.
I think
for
so.
the lower tier. Minimum term 3 months, service inclusions for the top tier, 3 calls per month. Again, we'll like explain what is in those calls. Access to membership, bonus resources, Monday to Friday message support. Yeah, and it is really dependent, I guess, on different clients, and sometimes it can be more reactive coaching, but getting more clear on what my unique methodologies are that I refer back to, which is what I'll be doing and sharing more of. But yeah, I think differentiating the two between the top tier and then the lower tier one. Do you think I can't remember if I asked you this yesterday. Do you think there's a need for the two?
I think there's a need for the two from a funnel perspective.
Yeah.
Right? So you have 2 options essentially. You can do the 2 tiers and it'll bridge that gap in your funnel between membership and top tier Soul Synergy. Otherwise, you've got nothing mid tier at all.
Yeah, because that was that gap, I guess, that I was talking to you about, where it's like, I've got a lot of interest, but then it comes to it's like price, and it's like, oh, I want that option for someone to move in with price a little bit lower.
Cool. Otherwise, what you can do, right, is you can keep that whole same structure of that mid tier and call it something else. So essentially, it's 3 different services rather than 2 services, and then one has 2 tiers. You can also do that if you do want to create a bit more distance between them.
Yeah, I think with that, I don't know if there's distance that I want to create because it's the same service. It's not like it's different, again, like methodologies between kind of what Shay was saying, like one's a breakthrough and one's something else, like they're 2 different things. So it's the same thing, but it's just different proximity, I think, and a different level of touch point. So I don't know if it's going to be confusing for people because it's like, oh, do I need this or do I need that? It's like, well, one's just more expensive and less expensive and has more inclusions and more value and less value. So yeah.
Yeah, have a think about it, because again, you're going to use the same skill sets, different proximity at a different intensity. Different. That's all that it is. You don't like, again, I don't use, completely different skills with my high level clients. It's just different proximity with a different intensity. And there's different access to different things. And because the proximity is higher, yes, we do get to cover more. You get to go deeper. I do get to use a broader skill set purely from a proximity perspective.
Yeah, we've got more touch points.
There's more touch points because there's more time, right? There's higher proximity. So it's the same with what you're talking about. Again, you're going to use the same tools in your toolkit. You're just going to use them at different frequencies, different proximities, and with different intensities. That's really the only difference. And then maybe structurally it looks a little bit different. Call numbers are different, etc.
Yeah. I think I think I don't mind the same name on the
Yeah.
same service because it's just like different levels of touch point. It's like just working with me one-on-one. He's taking work with me one-on-one. It's either this or this.
Yeah, cool. So if you're going to do that, increase the inclusions of the higher tier.
Do you have any suggestions of how that I could do that?
I would include some more tangibles in it. So whether that's trackers, dashboards, whether that's, we've obviously spoken about free access to the membership as well. That will obviously be in there, but I would include some more tangibles.
Yeah,
because
the membership's going to have, sorry, what'd you say? Cut you off.
Yeah, rather than just like the time, like you get an extra call, we also want to give them additional value in it as well.
Yeah, because like in my membership, there will be a lot of resources and, PDFs, this, that, like all in there. So they'll already be getting that, but I can include that in selling the membership as part of that offering maybe too, like, because I just plan on just pumping it with just absolute shit. Not shit, but just feeding it.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll have a think about it. But this is a really good lesson though, guys. If you're going to have 2 tiers of something, they have to be distinctly different in terms of the value. Otherwise, everyone's always going to pick the lower tier, right? People have to be incentivized to pick a higher tier, right? And sometimes an extra call a month is not enough for them to be like, yeah, I can justify an extra $1,000, They can't really justify it. So it's about looking at, I have these 2 tiers. What can I take from this one? What can I put in this one to create a distinct difference between the 2? Otherwise, what you'll find, no one will move into your higher tiers. Everyone will move into your lower tier. Lottie, you actually kind of do this. Yours are different names, but pretty well 2 tiers. And you do this well between the lab and the full 360. And a lot of people move into your full 360 service because of how many additions are in there.
Yeah, definitely. And it's also got the addition of the mindset, which is massive for a lot of people.
Yeah. And whilst the lab is training nutrition, right? There's very distinct differences between the 2 services. So if people want mindset, they know they have to move into a higher tier for that, right? So have a think, if you guys have tiers to your coaching services, what am I doing to actually create difference between the 2? So I'm incentivizing people to move into the higher tier. Otherwise, you'll have a very full lower tier and maybe a couple in your higher tier.
Yeah, I feel like with fitness, it's really easy to split it up. And I've had this with clients in the past as well, when you can have fitness mindset training, like the whole package, and then it could just be like a subscription. And it's like a basic template plan that someone can subscribe to for like $20 a week, for example. There's a clear difference, like where it's one-on-one versus that.
It is kind of just about, though, again, when you're in a broad niche, it is about deciding what is it that I'm going to make this the focus of. Because it's the same with health and fitness and mindset, different focuses, right? Maybe this one is more on, obviously it goes into the emotional, physical, etc. But then maybe with this one, yeah, you do have more dashboards, you have more, body work. Maybe you have a VIP day every quarter, right? You can include like things to create difference. Yes, it is easier with fitness and nutrition because they're not broad niches. They're just narrow. They're very easy to understand. When you're in a broad niche, yes, it can be a little bit more difficult, but again, it's about increasing the value of that higher tier by including things like a VIP day, or additional support in a specific area, whatever that might be. So sit and have a think about what you can do to increase the value of that higher tier.
Yeah.
Cool. Kalila, I might go to you.
Hey, how you going?
Good. How are you?
Good. I feel like this is the perfect time for me because I'm still figuring this shit out. So I was doing my one-on-one online coaching and like listening to everyone. I only have one offer at the moment. And I don't know, I feel like it's low to mid. It's 50 a week, minimum terms 12 weeks, with the program in-app habit tracking, like weekly check-in, and daily one-on-one support Monday to Friday. And then as I was listening, I was wondering if it would be a good idea to have like a monthly one-on-one coaching package that, we don't have as much communication throughout the week, but it has a lower investment for people.
Yeah. What I would focus on first, because you're right in beginning stages, is just focus on this one service. Don't worry about tiers, etc. Right now.
Cool. Yeah.
What I would divert attention to is just opening up your top funnel a little bit more. And that's things like free resources, etc. Things that are actually going to pull people into the funnel, right? That's more so going to be your focus versus bringing in a second tier. So when we're looking at anything from like a scalable perspective, honestly, most people don't really need to scale in the first couple of years of business.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? We want to identify gaps and fill them for sure. But if we add too many services before we've actually grown into our capacity, then we essentially just have lots of empty services. So what you want to focus on is getting like laser focused on reaching your capacity with your online coaching, right? And just having that be the sole service you focus on. And then increasing some top funnel offers that bring people into the funnel, right? That's all you really need to focus on right now. How you can sharpen your skills, right? How you can sharpen your skills. There's a difference when you've been in business for 6 months versus 5 years, right? Where it's like you've got 5 years worth of experience and skills and knowledge. At the moment, you're still sharpening those tools and still developing them. So I wouldn't get too stressed out or concerned about how can I scale things out or put this in. Instead, it's like, awesome, I'm going to like have laser focus on how do I feel what I've got.
Yeah, I'm happy with that, because I was like, oh, I need to nail this one first.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's the best thing you can do, because too many people try to scale too quick and then they just end up with lots of empty services. Nothing ever actually reaches its capacity. And that's the smartest thing that you can do.
All right, cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the shoot on the weekend. That will be great to have some actual fitness content to use across my socials.
100%. Send me your mood boards and everything.
Yes, I will.
Yeah,
do it tonight.
Perfect. Amazing. Lottie, anything that you really need to refine in your services? I know that you're a sharp little one. I don't know if we've got too much.
I guess from this call, well, I took a lot away from like the marketing around like, oh, not just group call, what those calls involve. For me, whilst I'm in the UK, I really want to incorporate some more like client community days as well with my full 360 girls. So I think that's something to think about for me.
Yeah, I think particularly for your full 360, again, it's just probably about adding those little bits of extra value to just further incentivize. But at the moment, most people are kind of going into the 360, aren't they? Yeah. That means the funnel's working, right? What I would actually do for you is just like leave it for a second.
Yeah.
Right? Let it run. And then funnel's funneling. But we'll only know if it's going to continue funneling if we just like take our hands off it and we just let it do its thing. This is a really, 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 really important part of business, where just because you can do something doesn't mean it's the right time right now, right? Or cool, I've done the thing, now on to the next thing. You've done the thing, right? You've come out the other end of this rebrand, sellouts all over the place. Now just let it run for a little bit so that we can gather some data and identify the gaps that are there. Otherwise, what will happen is if we start coming in and fiddling with things too quick, we don't give ourselves enough time to actually figure out what's working and what's not. So for you at the moment, if you want to add in like a community style day for your high level clients, great. Everything else, I would take my hands off it and let it run.
Mm. Yeah, no, definitely. I feel like after the rebrand, things are starting to go the right way as well. So that's good.
Yeah, they're going ridiculously well. I'm very excited. Very excited for the next couple of weeks. Like,
yeah.
dying on the inside, bursting, ready for it to come out. Cool. Awesome. What I want you guys to go through now, you can list out a couple of key outcomes. So what you actually give people as well. What is it that your service gives people? Then what frameworks do you use? What methodologies do you use, if any? And if you don't, that's okay. I'll teach you how to develop your own. What platforms and structures do you use, if any? A little bit about who your target audience is. You don't have to worry about any messaging. And then just have a look just for your own observation, what your current volume is. So how many people do you have in the service versus how many people do you have capacity to have in the service? All we're really going to go through, though, is the frameworks. All right, I'll give you guys a couple of minutes. We've only got about like 15 minutes left of the call. So I'll give you about 2-3 minutes and just focus primarily on frameworks and methodologies. Cool. Give me a thumbs up when you've got that. I'll give you guys another minute.
Lisa, can I ask a question that's not relevant to this?
Of course you can.
Thank you. So you know the photographer and the studio. He just said not. So I said like, how many can the studio hold? Because he asked me how many clients are coming. And then he said not had multiple people in there yet. Don't really know. Maybe have to split up the groups. Does that make sense?
Yeah, as in like, oh, that could.
Does he mean like one at 12 o'clock and some at 3 o'clock?
Yeah, as in like
No,
you
I don't.
kind of have to have two kind of groups come in. The only part about that, it wouldn't be that bad, right? The only part about it though would mean you're going to have to run things like clockwork as well, because you're going to be essentially cramming everything in, running on like a timesheet for it, which is fine. It also though means that the girls aren't really going to get to interact. You may not be able to get a group photo, like community photo. That's the only
also if we're traveling there, like I don't want people to travel like 3 hours earlier than have to wait around if we're all traveling together. So maybe I'll just go for the other option.
I reckon go for the other option. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you.
Awesome. So who has their own unique framework or method that they use in their business? Anyone? No? Cool. That's fine. So does everyone know who Mel Robbins is? I reckon I spoke to you about this yesterday, Britt. Mel Robbins? Yeah, cool. If you don't know who Mel Robbins is, she's a motivational speaker. Now, Mel Robbins became famous in her 40s, 50s, really, really long time ago. You know someone, Lottie. Lottie knows nothing about anything pop culture. It's so funny. She knows who Mel Robbins is, though. She hasn't even seen like How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. It's kind of tragic. But Mel Robbins became famous when she was in her 40s, 50s, and really just had a normal life before that. And does anyone know what she became famous for? No, she became famous for the 5-second rule, right? Now, it's actually nothing fucking special at all. It's the most basic thing ever. And it was when she didn't feel like doing something. So when she didn't feel like getting up to go to the gym in the morning, she just wanted to sleep in, she started having this method she'd use where she'd go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, get up. Right? And she would count from 5 down to 1 and then force herself up. And she just coined it the 5-second rule. Now, it's not actually that groundbreaking to count down from 5 and get yourself out of bed. But it worked because it's a framework and a method. She now has the let them theory or the let them method. Now, this came about purely from her own lived experience with her son, trying to control his prom, and he was wearing the wrong shoes, and then it started raining, and then the girls didn't have the right corsages, and then they all wanted to go get Mexican at this tiny place and no one booked a table, and she started to get panicky and frantic and stressing out, and her daughter said, "Mom, just let them." And she coined the let them theory, right? And essentially she started to develop let them, right? Someone's pissing me off, let them. Something's upset me, let them, right? 2 extremely simple things. But the thing is Mel Robbins is known for them. If you don't have a framework or a method, it's very difficult to be known for anything because people need to attach your name to it. So everyone already has frameworks and methodologies. It's just about coining it and naming it, right? Georgia on the call yesterday, she was talking about the frameworks that she uses. She was talking about this very specific process that she uses with her nutrition clients, right? That I actually haven't ever seen any coach ever do. Now, she's not doing anything crazy that's not backed by science or anything like that. It's all the same tools and skills that every other coach has, but she just does it in a way where it's this process and this method that she does time and time again, and it works time and time again. So I told her to name it and start talking about it on her socials, her whatever nutrition method, right? So that people can attach her to that. It's very difficult to be known for something if people don't know what you do. People don't know your methods or your frameworks. Now, the way that we develop frameworks, does anyone know how we develop a method or a framework? No? Cool. What's one thing that each of you have that I don't have?
Experience, like unique experience.
Yes. No one ever in the history of the world shares the exact same lived experience. And that is very much your superpower when it comes to supporting other people, right? Your lived experience is something no one else has. So if, say, you're a fitness coach, right, or a nutrition coach, whatever it might be, what was your process that got you from not being in the gym, feeling like shit, to where you are now? Right? That's your framework. That's your method, right? Same with, could be if you're working in more mindset or that holistic wellness. What was the process that got you from feeling detached to your body and disconnected to feeling whole again, feeling at home in yourself again? What was your process? Everyone actually has frameworks and methods. They just don't write them down. They don't visualize them, and they don't call them anything. So what I want all of you to do after the call, when you get some time and some space, I want you to have a look at your own journey, your own lived experience in what you currently teach and what you provide. And I want you to actually write down some methods, right? And it could be, I started doing this, and then I moved on to this, and then I moved on to this, and then I moved on to this. You'll notice you're probably already doing it with your clients. Attach a visual to it. So I like to draw things, graphs. I did one for Brit yesterday as well when we were talking about this. And then name it something, right? Start developing your own frameworks and methodologies, because it's very difficult to be a leader in your space and also be known for something if you're basically the same as everyone else. So you never actually give insights into what it is that you do, particularly if you're broad niche. As many insights into your service as possible, because people don't know. They don't know your methods. They don't know your frameworks. Do you guys have any questions about that?
No, but I just thought of, yeah, I relate to what you said about everyone's got them, but they just don't write them down. Like, I know I've got repeat stuff that I constantly say to clients all the time, and they know me for it, and they know the language, but I'm like, I need to write that down and catch it when I say it, write it down. Like, I remembered one just then, and it's literally gremlin, like little gremlin in our our ego, and I call them gremlins, or like naming that part of you. And yeah, so I was like, oh, whoa, like I've got like so many. So, but I feel like, how would you suggest, like, would you suggest like a brainstorm session, or is it more kind of what I said, like it'll come up when it comes up and in flow? Because I've got heaps, like even different protocols for different things, and yeah, like tackling things, for example. Let's just go with a big one I work with is PCOS. I always start with foundations, which is health. If they're not doing anything for their health, like full stop, start there and then go into the more fluffier stuff like mindset, whatever work you need to do up the top. That would be a framework, right?
Yes. Yeah. So a lot of them are going to come to you at random ass times. I literally can't tell you, like the shower, guys. The shower is my best thoughts ever. Or doing the dishes, which I hate doing, right? But doing those little mundane things where you just tone down the noise of life a little bit and you just let your brain go and it starts throwing things out, right? So yeah, right before bed, I do the same thing. I did the same thing last night. And then I was like, fuck, I need to write all this down. I don't want to lose it, right? But for the most part, they're just going to come to you when you're in just like a very regulated state. This is also why it is important for you to be in regulated states, because if you're always in this fight or flight mode in your business, it's very difficult to actually be able to settle and just allow those thoughts to come through, right? So usually they will come to you in states of just regulation. You're literally just doing the dishes or having a shower or going for a walk on the beach, right? How clear are your thoughts when you go for a walk, right? These things don't really come up through force. They will come up though if you're in a regulated state. Every framework I've ever come up with, and if you guys have done like my shadow work masterclass, that's my own framework. All the frameworks I teach are my own. They're not anyone else's, right? All of those literally come through when I'm driving, having a shower, going for a walk, doing the dishes, right? So when you do get a little bit of time to just chill out, regulate, go for a walk, right? And just let your mind wander a little bit and let it go. And then you'll start to ponder on your own journey and you'll actually start to see your process. And then just put it into something. Make it a visual thing. Make it a teachable thing. That's the important part, is it has to be teachable. And it has to be something that you can teach and replicate over and over and over again and produce a result over and over again. And for, let's say, for example, Shay and Britt, broad niche, yes, you're going to run things dependent on the client and intuitively, but you'll actually find after a while your intuitive practices are processes, right? They start intuitively and then they actually become processes that you implement over and over again. So take note of what your intuitive practices are with clients and what's worked for them and what's worked for you and what hasn't. Cool. Do you guys have any questions about that before we jump off? No, cool. What you guys can also do as well is make a framework portfolio or a portal. A portal is literally all of your frameworks in one spot. It's basically a portfolio. So you'll find even if you start writing down topics that you want to put in a portfolio, you'll find you probably have a framework or method attached to it already. Cool. All right. Well, I'm going to let you guys go. Let me know how you go filling out the rest of it. If you do come into any problems with it, or you're not too sure how to finish off your service, or you feel like your capacities are really low, shoot me a message. We can have a look at marketing, messaging, and yeah, start filling up those services. Cool.
Thank you.
All right, guys, have a good day/night, depending where you are in the world. Bye.